This is Heroine Addiction, where we cover romance and drama manhwa, and where all our plans are coming together. I'm Isekai Sensei-sama, aka Brad, and as always, I'm joined by Bento Baggins, aka Ben.
I'm a maid with thick eyebrows, Bento Baggins, aka Alice.
Well, be sure to find us on social media, which you can find the links for on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. Today we're covering The Villainess Lives Again. Finally we're covering this. This has been on the list the entire time. It has been coming out for a long time. It is still coming out. It is not over. It is actually very close to being over. So chapter 223 dropped recently, and as far as we understand, the last chapter is chapter 230. So we are very close to the end. I feel like the big important stuff is over now. But I mean, 7 chapters, stuff could still happen. So
there's a few things I still have questions about, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm worried that some of the stuff I have questions about would just be dropped, or it's a setup for the side stories, which I heard we're not getting. So or at least this artist isn't doing.
In reference to that, I do want to point out that this is an adaptation, as most of them are, but this is an adaptation. The web novel is actually has a different name. The Villainess Lives Twice. Not sure why they changed it, but The Villainess Lives Again is the official English title for the manhwa. The novel is, the main stories are completed. Apparently side stories are still coming out. There's this weird thing. I'm not sure what this means. But it was 304 chapters of the main story. There were 29 side story chapters, and now there are 41 and still coming out IF special side story chapters. I don't know what IF means in this instance. So, if you're a listener who knows what that is, come jump on our Discord and explain to us what that means, because we don't know. Before I do the summary and we get into the discussion, I will say the web novel started coming out in 2018, and the manhwa started coming out in 2020. So, web novel was not complete when the manhwa started.
This is as old as my podcasting career.
Did you guys start in 2018?
No, I meant the comic. The 2020.
Oh, yeah.
Been going for 5 years.
There's a lot of stuff that started in 2020.
Yeah, everybody was real bored all of a sudden.
All right, so I will read the summary and then we'll dive on in. From childhood, Artesia Rosen's happiness was dependent on ensuring the success of her brother. As a master manipulator and schemer, she became his most valuable ally in seizing the Empire's throne. That's exactly why her brother's betrayal cut so deep when Artesia was imprisoned as punishment for all her crimes. Soon after being rescued by Grand Duke Cedric Ebron, she vows to help him overthrow the cruel new emperor by sacrificing her own life with forbidden magic. Now, waking up several years earlier back in time, she will forsake her own family to help Cedric at all costs. They say that blood is thicker than water, but can Artesia destroy her brother while her own romance blossoms amidst the chaos? And then it also says, based on the hit novel. but I cut that part out because I just told you it was a novel.
Oh, yeah. So off the bat, I want to take a little bit of an issue with that description, in that he imprisoned her. Is that what we're going to call what happened to her? I don't know if we do content warnings for these, but like this one gets a little intense right off the bat.
Yeah. It's sort of just that first bit that's a little hardcore, and there's some very dramatic stuff that happens later on, but nothing quite so violent.
No, nothing like that. I don't know. You can believe it if you want, but like he cuts her arms and legs off and cuts her tongue out, and then also chains her up in a dungeon.
Which you'd think, like, just to execute her at that point, right?
Yeah, I don't know why we're torturing here. I guess if your thing was like, I don't want her to tell my secrets, but he's also like, I guess just a sadist. So
yeah, he's pretty crazy. I guess sort of in the grand scheme of things, he is the primary antagonist. But he also disappears for a large part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess before going into the summary, I think one of the things that makes this different from some of the other stuff we've covered is that I would say there really is no primary antagonist. There's Cedric, who
The primary antagonist is Tia's self-esteem.
Well, there's that, but there's also just the world they inhabit. It's kind of a person versus the world story, because like Cedric is the Duke of the North, the Ned Stark, the only good man in a society of terrible people, like terrible scheming politicians and whatever. And Artesia is just like the best of those scheming politicians. She's not necessarily a more moral person, but
she's moral. She's more moral in her second life.
She has a desire to do good in the world, but she puts all of that onto Cedric. She thinks she deep down believes that terrible things must be done to secure the power. And she's going to do them so that Cedric can keep his hands clean and keep his innocence. And then he could be the benevolent ruler and she can just disappear or die or whatever her fate is. She didn't plan on living a second life.
I'll tell you what, after living in this world for a while, I don't think I disagree with her.
I want to say it's a world where everybody sucks, but it's complicated, and it's good complicated, because it's a world where everybody is scheming and plotting, but also they all are like human characters who also have like people that they love. And they're not all just like Lawrence is this weird sadistic monster, but all the other people have at least some redeeming qualities. And Artesia does not give a fuck.
Yeah.
And that's I extensively live Discord.
Aubrey doesn't have any redeeming qualities.
I will defend Aubrey a little when we get to that. But Aubrey did go way too far, but I'll defend Aubrey a little. No, I was in the Discord just basically just talking about everything I was reading the whole time I was reading it, because there's
apparently read-alongs are something we're doing now. So join our Discord, and
it helps me keep reading if people keep talking to me. I need that that dopamine hit of like I
will say, I was worried about this one, given that 220 some chapters. And then when you first started posting screenshots only like a week ago, and I was like, oh shit, we're going to have to push out the recording, aren't we? And then you blew through it.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap, that's really impressive. That's like the kind of reading that I did during COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, it was most evenings I just spent reading this for like a week. But that's what I thought I would read 40 chapters a day, and that would have been enough to catch me up. But I wound up reading like 85 chapters the first day, and then I did 80 again, and then I by the time I got to the stuff I just wanted to like push to the finish, because like I got to see where this is going. And like that's why I say there's a handful of chapters left, and I still have many questions because this is all fresh in my mind. And there was a common thread in everybody I talked to about this, that people tend to fall off because the plot is so complicated and stuff is set up sometimes 100 chapters in advance of when it's going to pay off, that there's these big dramatic moments and reveals, and you're like, okay, but who was that?
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I really like this series, but I also gave up on trying to understand what was going on. I basically was like, okay, I enjoy what's going on. Every once in a while, I remember when something gets revealed, and I know what's going on. But then also, eventually we'll record an episode of Heroine Addiction, and I'll just have Ben explain everything to me.
I would say, like, for example, one of the very first things she says to Lawrence in season 1 puts in motion an elaborate scheme that doesn't come full circle until season 3. And it's just cooking in the background. It is written like almost like a mystery novel.
Yeah.
Where it's the writing is
it's
very
a political
tight.
Thriller.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I this one struck me as like, it's a Tomei isekai in that it's got that Regency era balls and intrigue and
With guns.
With guns. But
not good guns.
It's also not like a proper isekai in that she's not, it's a regression, right?
And there's magic.
Yeah. But she's from this world.
Yeah.
And goes back in time in this world. And
so technically isekai adjacent.
Yeah. And of course there's then multiple regressors. Is that what you would call them?
Yeah, so all right. Let's get this out of the way. Sorry, Moon. There's going to be a lot of spoilers in this episode. If we start talking about something that's like a super spoiler, we'll try and call it out. But just keep in mind, you're probably going to get some stuff spoiled. Sorry about that. However, I will say I don't think that's going to ruin your reading of this, because as you read through it, even if you read it in a day, you're going to forget everything until you get to it. So just something to keep in mind.
I think you could easily read this twice.
Yeah. In fact, you might need to.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm sure, like, I'll be honest with you, I tend to underestimate the writing quality of some of these webtoons. And yeah, it's just some of them are trying to do different things than others. Like, not most of these webtoons are not trying to be a serious political thriller.
Right.
Like, but I went into this and like right off the bat, it was like super edgy. She's like, oh, she got her arms and legs cut off and her tongue cut out. And she's doing like these like Full Metal Alchemist sigils on the floor with her own blood. And I'm like, wow, this is okay. This is an edgy 16-year-old's thing. But then is like, I think when the first like big twist started rolling in, I was like, wait. Like when the Aubrey stuff went down, that's when I was like all the way in. I was like, no, this is actually much smarter than I was giving it credit for. Everything she says means something.
Yeah.
And what I was interpreting as like, oh, this is just like Otome Isekai speak. You know, she's supposed, the author's telling me she's very smart. It's like, no, she actually is very smart. And she's actually, like, all these words mean something. So I'm positive there's a ton of stuff from season 1 I did not catch because I wasn't paying close attention.
So, well, and just to wrap this around to what we were talking about, the regression issue here is that her magic sent her back in time. And I wasn't clear if she knew that she would go back in time or just the idea was to reset the world.
Her plan was to perform a spell where she would remove herself from ever having existed, which would then eliminate Lawrence, her brother's claim to the throne, because she was Lawrence's schemer. Lawrence wound up becoming an evil emperor. And so she thought, you know, and this is Artesia's character arc, she blamed everything on herself. And she's like, if I remove myself from the equation, then Lawrence can never become emperor and the world will be a better place. And
Right.
Cedric will have what he wants. And the magic went wrong because she reset.
Or did it? Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun.
She removed most of her actions as his schemer, but she still continued to exist, and she found herself placed back at the time where she first started to be the schemer.
And so, yeah, so she's back in time. And then, spoilers, what we find out later is that over time, other people are gaining their memories from the original timeline. And the idea, at least as far as I understood it, is that the magic circle that she cast to try and remove herself that sent her back in time was like, quote unquote, still active.
Yeah, it didn't complete. So she started removing herself from the timeline, but she only removed herself up until that point where she started becoming the schemer.
Right.
And then I think she ran out of life force. I think that's what she said. Like, she didn't have enough left in her to complete the spell. So the spell remains open. There's this force that wants to revert things. And the collapsed reality is bleeding back together. She needs to finish the spell at some point.
And so we know it's clearly established that at least 3 other people regain their memories over time. And then I think here at the end we find one more person. Is that what happened? I think that.
So, this is just a spoiler. People have to tolerate because I got to think about it. Artesia has her memories. Cedric has his memories. Lycia has her memories. Lawrence has his memories.
Yeah.
And Lycia's maid, I forget her name, has her
Right.
memories. And the orange-haired guy has his memories.
The orange.
The pirate man.
Yeah. He doesn't come up again for.
Yeah, he's in and out. So that's at least 6. Oh, and the Karam prophet.
Oh, right. Yeah,
has
that
his
one.
memories.
Yeah.
So there's 7 characters I can think of off the top of my head that have regained their memories. So it seems like most everyone is going to eventually, if this doesn't stop.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't sure about that. Is that like, yeah, it'll happen to everybody or only people who are significant to the original timeline in some way?
It's tough to say. It definitely seems like it's people, maybe people tied to Lycia and Artesia because they're saintesses.
Right.
This is something that still hasn't come out in like the full reveal. We still don't know. Like, there is a god. The god sends divine revelations to his prophets and saintesses, and he sends them cryptic revelations, and we still don't really know what the hell he's trying to do. So I'm hoping that is something that is resolved in a handful of chapters. I would love to know God's plan in 7 chapters or less. So,
So I did want to say, as far as reading through this, as always, support the official release. But that said, I sort of do recommend reading this on Bato because there is someone in the comments that anytime anything significant happens, they explain what's going on. Sometimes there's spoilers involved because in order to explain it, you have to know what's going to happen in the future. But they do mark spoilers. But most of it is, here's what happened that led to this exact thing happening. And those comments in there are, I think, invaluable.
I didn't read most of them. I think you can get by if you read it all at once.
Yeah, if you're reading it
if
all
you're going to
together,
really sit down and read through this, I wouldn't take a long break because I can tell you it's already starting to fade.
Yeah, I was reading this week to week. I'm not sure when I started it, but it wasn't too long after it started coming out. It was early chapters when I started this. And there were a couple points where it was on hiatus for a while. And yeah, just reading through week to week, like I said, I enjoyed it, but it was like, there was so much stuff where I was just like, I have no idea what's going on. Who the heck is this person? Here at the end, when that other person regained their memories and came in and did their thing, and I was like, who the hell is that? and quite honestly, that person was in chapters only, 20, 30 chapters ago. And so even that close to it, it was like, I'm completely lost. Why is this person doing this?
There is a challenge in that there is a huge cast, a lot of similar sounding names, a lot of similar character designs. Like there's, Artesia and Lycia. They're both girls of about the same age with long blonde hair. You're probably not going to get them confused because they're closer to main character status. But then there's I would say, like a teal-haired faction, the Camellias, where...
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. Wait, am I looking at the mom? Is this the daughter?
Yeah.
What's going on?
The mom has red eyes, I think. So I'm like, or that's the aunt. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Oh, God. Okay, I will say the closest I came to needing those comments was the Camellias and the... Oh, God. What was the other? No, not the Roygars. There's the Camellias and there's another house that is basically they've made the Camellias subservient to them. There's a Marquess, he's a big fat guy.
Oh yeah. Crap, what's his name? He's not on this list. Why is he not on this list?
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. Like, trying to understand the relationship between those two families was probably the most difficult thing for me. And I did kind of yada yada some of their politics because I was like, I understand. Luden. Or Ruden. What was it? I don't know. But yeah, Luden and Camellia, their relationship is like, I don't know what that guy's doing.
The teal-haired women married into the Camellia family. That's the mom, and then she had her daughters. Luden, that's her mom and dad.
Okay. Yeah, because there's this whole arc where I don't know. We should probably just start the summary because there's this whole arc where Skyla tries to separate the Camellias back out, and it's. We'll open it up with season 1. It starts off like a pretty typical Otome isekai with somebody watched way too much Full Metal Alchemist at the beginning, and then, which is a recurring theme in a lot of these Otome isekais. That must be a really popular one.
It's foundational.
Yeah. So she goes, she wakes up in this new body, and the former Artesia had, of course, been a meek, mousy little thing, and now she's all confident, and she's got this sultry, quite frankly, hot mother, and she's creepy. The mom is the empress, or the emperor's mistress, and this is something very basic that I guess I don't fully understand. I guess Artesia and her family are of House Rosen.
Yeah.
Her mother, now I've read her name translated two different ways. The one I read the most is malaria or malaria, which are both diseases. So that's
Moralia.
Moralia sounds better.
Yeah.
So Moralia is, I guess, of low birth, but she first married into Rosen, and
The
then
Marquis state.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
Tia is the legitimate daughter of House Rosen,
Yes.
and Lawrence is the emperor's bastard.
Right.
And so the mom ridiculously heavily favors Lawrence, and she's trying to set him up to be emperor. The emperor himself indulges in this little side family he has. And so Tia,
Yeah, he treats Tia really well for the most part, even though she's not his.
yeah, the emperor, and this is where, like I say, like the bad guys, they have redeeming qualities. The emperor really just wants to be loved.
Honestly, as much as I sort of despise him, the Emperor might be my favorite character because he's very conflicted. Because at the same time as he's like, I want to do good for my country, like he does try to be a good emperor, he's also incredibly paranoid. He has a lot of stuff going on. He does do some really awful shit. But like it all makes sense that he would do those things.
What I like about the emperor, and kind of what I dislike about Aubrey, and then a lot of Otome Isekai do this. They're afraid to let you have sympathy for the villain. Like at some point in a lot of Otome Isekai, they would have made the emperor do something horrible. They'd have the kick the puppy moment where it's like, oh, he was just pretending to have compassion. No, he's not. He has compassion. He does love. What do we say?
Moralia.
Moralia. He does love Moralia. He does.
He doesn't love his empress.
No, he's estranged from his wife, and there's a complicated set of circumstances there. But
and what he did to his brother is awful.
yeah. But I mean, he's a royal. That's what royals did. That's how succession goes. That's why it is so important for a king to have a clear heir who is powerful enough to take the throne. You want a son of about 16 years, no more, no less, to be there to inherit the throne when you die. And you want a second son, but you don't want him, to like it's a mess. And he engages in that. And Tia engages in that. They're not so different. He has people he loves, she has people she loves, and their disagreement is purely political in a lot of ways. Like, I don't think Tia is necessarily more morally sound than the emperor.
No. And let's be fair. The title is The Villainess Lives Again. Tia was 100% the villainess the first go round.
Yeah.
And she's sort of still is in the second time. It's just her villainousness is aimed in a different direction.
We'll get into it. I'll try to get through some more summaries. So Tia wakes up in this body. We get introduced to her family. That's their weird dynamic. Tia decides she's going to go to the temple, which is a little bit of a trick because she knows Cedric's going to be at that temple, and she knows going to the temple to pray is a totally reasonable request that really can't be refused. So she plots to go to the temple, plots to meet Cedric. She does. And she has this meeting with him where she kind of tantalizes him with, I need you to enter into a contract marriage with me for 2 years. You'll protect me. She's 18 now. In this world, she will be officially an adult when she's 20. But at 18, you start to like shop around for a match. And so she's 18 now. I need you to protect me until I'm legally of age to inherit House Rose. Or I guess when she's married, she can inherit House Rosen because it's till you're 20 or an adult or you're married, I guess. So that's fun. But yeah, she wants his protection for 2 years. And in exchange, she'll make him emperor. And he doesn't trust her. He doesn't like her. He is a military man. He had his family exterminated by the emperor.
So, yeah, we should probably clarify this. They do explain this pretty early on. So, the Ebron dukedom is run by Emperor Gregor's brother and his wife, and they have one son. The Duke, Cedric's father, was really popular. And so Gregor was like, this is a problem. He's more popular than me. He could just take over as emperor. Now, we know that wasn't going to happen because Cedric's dad was actually a good guy. But as I mentioned before, Gregor, very paranoid. And this was one of the 2 or 3 things that he did that I was like, yeah, that's not okay. So he concocted some, treason charges basically and had the Duke and his wife executed and then said, Cedric will be the Duke when he comes of age. How old was he when they were executed? He was pretty young.
I'd say he was like 10 or 11. Yeah.
But then the additional part of this is that the Ebron dukedom is like in the far north, and it's very harsh climate, and it borders on a region that is home to what everybody thinks of as monsters.
This author is a big fan of Game of Thrones. There is a northern border where the wildlings live, where the others come from, like it's and the house in the north is all like largely independent, and largely like apart from events in the capital. Yeah. But
what are they called? The Karam?
Karam? Yeah, I said Karam. I put a little.
Yeah. The name of them doesn't really matter, but basically they look like people, but their skin is gray.
And they have 4 arms. And 3 eyes. Right. Yeah.
And so, they live as, a native people generally do, where, they have a society, but they also like are like a warrior like society, and they do scavenging kind of stuff and hunting and stuff like that. So
there's 2 they mentioned this, and this was one of the minor issues I had. There are Karam to the north and quote unquote monsters to the west. And I don't know what a monster is.
I don't think we've ever seen him.
Yeah. The Karam, they have 4 arms, 3 eyes, but otherwise they're pretty humanoid. And they can interbreed with regular humans.
Yeah, they can.
And the issue is we can't communicate. But also the
Maybe
church.
It's 'cause you didn't try.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say also the church has labeled them demons or unholy, and so it's also like a crime to make an effort to commune with them.
Yeah.
So you wind up with these. There are like half Karam, half humans who are capable of sort of bridging the gap. I guess there's something with like the way they make sound that just regular, like our languages are just not compatible. But the half Karam can translate. And through that, something might be possible, but it would be a crime. But it's sort of something that the North would like to explore, because it would be really great if we didn't have a border war every winter.
Right.
And if we could just arrange some kind of trade agreement or something. And of course, also the Karam have native plants that grow better than the stuff we import from the capital and all that.
But
junk.
don't you dare look into that.
Don't look into it. It's a demon plant. It grows better because of its demonic magic. The Karam call it maize.
It really does read like an allegory for Native
Yeah.
Americans.
Yeah.
The whole like, warrior tribes thing, and like they only respect strength, and it's just like, oh, okay. I guess this is somewhat realistic. I can't really be like, oh, this is racist. It's like, this is basically what happened.
And like you find with a lot of race stuff, like the people who actually live near it tend not to have as big a problem with it as the people who've never met anybody.
Right.
So the Northerners, like they don't necessarily hate the Karam. They are afraid of being wrecked by them, but So they enter into a contract marriage. He's got this complicated political situation. She's got this proximity to the Emperor. But Cedric is if it wasn't clear, he's the nephew to the Emperor.
I hope that was clear from what I explained.
Yeah. There's three main candidates. This is the plot. Somebody's got to become the Emperor. The Emperor is getting old. He's going to die. There is a battle for succession. It is a political battle at this point. It is a Cold War. There's three main candidates. There's Cedric, the nephew of the Emperor. There's Lawrence, the bastard of the Emperor. And then there's Roygar, the brother of the Emperor.
Oh, that's a good question, because I know they're related in some way, but I'm not sure. Let me see. Okay, they're half brothers.
Half brother.
Yeah.
So nobody has a particularly strong claim. The Emperor favors Lawrence because he would love
Lawrence
to
is-
pretend that Lawrence is his actual child and that she is his actual wife. And
Basically, Lawrence does have the strongest claim, both from a genetic standpoint as well as being favored by the Emperor. So for all intents and purposes, and I don't think it was this way at the beginning, but for all intents and purposes, he is the crown prince.
but pointedly, the Emperor has refused to name him crown prince.
Right.
Because he's still dangling that out as a means of forcing these people to curry favor with him. So he can control as long as he doesn't name a crown prince, everybody still has to try to be his best friend. Nobody can openly rebel.
Oh, okay.
And I think the Empress has to okay this.
I had this wrong. It's the Duchess Ebron was
his
Gregor's
sister.
sister.
Yeah.
That's important. And so Roygar is her brother. So Gregor, half brother. Where?
There are charts. I did see in the Bato comments, there are charts people have
should have
drawn
found
to
that.
help you with this. This needs a proper wiki. This deserves a proper wiki.
Oh, Gregor has an illegitimate daughter as well.
Yes, but she is not entering the contest.
So the Duchess, Ebron, Floella, apparently. I don't think I remember seeing that before. Also, Gregor's half-sister. So Roygar and Floella had the same, I don't know. I don't know if it was the same mom or dad.
Probably the same father, if it matters. If they had the same mother, I don't know that it would be.
Yeah.
The gold standard of inheritance would be a son of the marriage that was sanctified by the state.
Right.
But those children did exist. I think he at least had a daughter with his proper wife, and those children died. And I cannot remember if they were murdered or if they just died of like illness.
I'm looking at Empress Catherine's sheet right now. It doesn't list anything.
I did try to look up some of this information, and I think what I'm going to have to start doing as we go through these isekai things is I'm just going to have to write the wiki. I guess it's just going to have to be me if none of you guys want to do it, because at one point in time, like Wednesday, I had all this in my head. And it is slowly draining out. But at one point, I could have written all this down.
Okay, I found this chart. Okay. Let's see. So, Gregor's father had a mistress. So that's where we got Floella and Roygar.
So Gregor's the legitimate heir, and his half siblings are from the mistress.
Yes, that seems to be it. This does not list any children for Empress Catherine.
It's something that it only comes up. You get the rare interaction between the emperor and the empress. And he does talk about how he wished their children could have lived. And she really, really hates his guts.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I read this wrong. Yes, there were 4. There were 4 sons. And then there is another illegitimate child from another mother. So 4 sons, Lawrence, and then one other daughter elsewhere. It's complicated.
It's a tough one. It's a toughie. So those are the 3 contestants. Lawrence has the best starting position, I would say. Roygar's pretty good. As a half brother, he's much younger than the Emperor. So he's got a noble faction on his side. Mm-hmm. Cedric really just has his power center in the north, and he has been content to fight the Emperor's battles for him and to try to basically just protect people, keep the common folk alive. So he's kind of got support among the common folk and support among the military. And his initial problem right now is they just won a big victory in the West, and his men should be entitled to some kind of reward or compensation for that. And the Emperor refuses to give it. And he refuses to give it specifically to undermine Cedric. Because he does not, he knows how popular this guy is. He knows this guy could easily upset the power dynamics here, and he doesn't want to give him that.
Yeah, and it is an important point because it literally takes Tia scheming in such a way that Lawrence is tied to something basically unforgivable by the nation in order for Gregor to finally actually cut him off.
Yeah. So
basically tied Gregor's hands.
Yeah. So the first step is, and this is where it still bears a lot of resemblance to other Otome isekai. The first step is to get Cedric, the cold Duke of the North, involved in politics. And this marriage proposal interests him. He winds up attending a party, scorning some mean girl, and paying a lot of attention to Tia. Tia becomes the talk of the town.
You know, you mentioned that there is like a distinct difference between the front half of this and the back half of this.
Yeah.
Where like the front half is very much Otome isekai, where it's like, oh yeah, there's balls and she's got to navigate this new household and all this kind. And then the back half is like just all of the political scheming coming together.
Yep.
It looks very different.
Yeah. And so Tia, she plants a couple of seeds here. She plants a seed for Lawrence, where Tia's mother is very abusive. Everybody knows it. Nobody
She's
does
also insane.
Yeah. Well, she's really described as being bipolar. She has these incredible manic episodes where she's very violent and has these outbursts, and then she has these incredible low moments of guilt, and it combines to be very manipulative, and it's really like, again, it's kind of unclear if she can help it. I don't know if that's like, I don't think Tia should have to be around her. I'm not saying that at all, but like, I do have some sympathy for her because she is genuinely very miserable.
Yeah.
And we get to see her misery, and it I don't know. I have to have a little sympathy for it because like she has a mental health problem, and there's no such thing as treatment for that right now. And
well, let's put this out there. You know, in the first life, Lawrence kills her after Lycia's death. And in the second life, she gets to survive.
Yeah. Well, and I think Tia even says she doesn't resent her mother, but I'm not going to put up with my mother either. And I think that's a totally fair place to exist. So Tia still pretends to be on Lawrence's side. She's like, I'm marrying Cedric because I got to get out of here, man. Like, I got to, this is about like me getting my own life, getting, away from mom. Mom's crazy. But you, Lawrence, you could be emperor. And you know what you should do? The thing is, if you want to be emperor, you're going to need the empress to legitimize you by adopting you, which means you're going to need to get on the empress's good side. And you know who the empress hates? House, I'm going to say Riorin? Leorian? Or Leorian? Some southern nobility.
Yeah.
It doesn't super matter what their name is. She hates this particular family of southern nobility. And they wronged her a long time ago. They killed her friends. And if you could undermine them, that would be she'd probably really like you. And he's like, that is a good idea. I'm going to start working on that. And you know what? Why didn't mom tell me that? Why didn't mom tell me I needed to be legitimized by the empress? Is mom trying to keep me under her thumb? Fuck mom. And he starts alienating his mother. She takes over House Rosen once she gets married. Tia does. And she basically kicks them out. Kicks the mom and kicks the brother out. Now the brother, she's like, look, Lawrence, this is just something I have to do for me. But you should definitely work on this, and I'll sort of help you with that. And Mom, good luck in your adventures. I hope you find another opportunity somewhere else.
Maybe Gregor will take care of you.
Use me as a reference for future children. So, and Gregor does take care of her.
Yeah.
Because Gregor genuinely loves her as much as he can love anything. He's
still fooling around with other women.
Yeah, but he always comes back to her. I mean, he's not a good guy by any stretch, but you will come to see, hopefully, if the summary progresses, that Tia is also not a good guy. So
I mean, let's be fair. Licia and Cedric are the only two actually good people.
Yeah,
maybe that one monk. He's a good guy.
No, he's cool. So
everybody else sucks in some way.
Yeah, so that's one seed planted. Then she also, and this is something I almost missed. She has a variety of. This is where Tia first starts to get weird. She's fucking with this one butler who's been mean to her. He's really the mother's servant, and he's treated her like a maid, basically. And she's making him do all these menial tasks. And one of the tasks she has him do is to copy a bunch of books in a foreign language. Like the writing system is different. So he's having to copy the books just based on how the symbols look. He's not getting it quite right. And he delivers them to her. And then she pays a guy to bash him over the head with a rock, killing him, and take his wallet to make it look like a robbery, not a murder. Because she needed to erase any knowledge of how those books came to be copied. And those books do not come up again until like season 2. And I was like, why did Tia just kill that guy? Like, wow, that was cold. I was like, I don't think you're supposed to necessarily trust Tia. But then we find out she didn't like the butler, but that's not why she killed him. So she makes this relationship with an assassin. So that's fun. And then the next thing, I might be getting things a little out of sequence, but following that thread, the next thing she has the assassin do is dress up as like a charlatan fortune teller and start holding seances with noble women.
Yeah, I don't think that happens until a bit later.
Yeah. But just to tie those two events together in your memory, she has him dress up as this charlatan. And he goes around and he just starts duping people out of money. He is pretty capable on his own, but she also feeds him information. So his fortunes seem to be real and he gets quite a reputation. And her goal is to eventually place him in particular noble houses. At least that's what it seems to be. Is there anything else you would want to mention before she goes north?
Yeah, I don't remember a whole lot from the pre House Ebron stuff.
Yeah, I think Roygar is mentioned a few times. You do get to see a little bit of his family, but we kind of explained that.
Did she set up any of the stuff in the South before she left?
So the only thing she set up for the South at this point, I think, and this is again, it could be a reread situation. I might notice something else, but the only thing I remember is she has Lawrence start looking into that family. I think she might have also put a bug in the Empress's palace because she gets a salt crystal at some point.
So because we don't know about Cadriel at this point.
No, he comes in the northern section.
Now,
but he's also a happy accident.
Well, she knows about him from her previous life, but I don't think he was that important the first time around.
She used him for her Lawrence scheme, and it got him killed.
But yeah, he's very important later, so we'll get to that.
Yeah, the main economic concern of the South is salt. They produce all of the nation's salt,
And it's like very protected. Like
Yeah.
the people who control the salt trade are like the most important nobles, and like you also, those nobles have to be 100% loyal to the emperor, and like there's tons of scheming that goes around that.
Yeah. And there's another independent nation that borders that,
Yeah.
which is a concern.
At some point, I think Roygar is trying to like take over on that from the current family, and there's like some fighting involved there, and
Oh, that's the seed Tia's planted.
yeah.
So, yeah, that's where that's going. But then Tia and Cedric, they eventually head north to his domain. He's got to spend some time up there getting some things ready. And
Getting ready for the next winter where
Yeah.
they have to fight the Karam.
Yeah, whenever food gets
Karam.
tight, there's usually a struggle. So he heads up there, and this is where we meet Aubrey
The Jordans.
of House Jordan.
They're their most trusted vassals.
Yeah. So there's
The people who raised Cedric, basically.
yeah. And keep that in mind. So
Because, as I mentioned before, Cedric's parents were executed for treason. I think he was like 10.
Yeah.
He was real young, like way younger than he could be to actually be a duke. Now,
Yeah.
I think he got the title of duke immediately because he was the only heir, but like he couldn't run the North. So you have the Jordan family. What are they? Are they? What's their title? Counts. Okay.
yeah. I don't know their holdings, but they basically they're responsible for his main keep.
Yeah. And they really are like really good people. They take care of Cedric. They don't have any kind of
Yeah,
weird political stuff going on. They take care of the North until Cedric comes of age and can really take over.
There's the mother, the father, Aubrey, a sister.
There's
and then
4 sisters.
There's 4 sisters, yeah. Of which Aubrey is
Fiona, Mel, Haley, and then Aubrey is the youngest.
one. Yeah. And so as soon as they arrive at the castle, Aubrey, young girl, jumps into Cedric's arms. He's like, oh, wow, haha. It's like, oh, we're childhood friends. This is also when we introduce the age gap that I and everyone else missed, by the way.
I didn't.
I did not notice that. So we have this thing where like they show some flashbacks of Cedric. He's kind of like older brother in some of the kids at the castle. Aubrey is one. She develops quite a crush on him. And she thinks they're going to get married one day and it's going to be great. Cedric is like, what, 29?
Yeah. I was going to say 29.
And Tia is 18.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not the worst age gap I've ever seen, but
And a big part of it is we ignore it because this is her second time around. She's not really 18. But
there was one panel I posted in the Discord, which was just an unfortunate phrasing. Because again, in our world, she would be an adult, so you do whatever she wants. But in their world, 20 is adult. So there's a word bubble where Cedric says, "My goal was just to protect her. My goal was just to protect her by marrying her until she became an adult." And I was like, "Oh,
It is important to note Aubrey is also 18. She either turned 18 while we're there or she turned 18 just before that. I forget which.
Every potential love rival is 18.
Hey, at least they weren't 16.
I will give you that. It's a simple change.
If this was a manga, they'd probably be 16.
Tell you what, her mom's the hottest character, so I don't care. I will.
Her mom's pretty hot, but she always has this crazy look in her eyes.
She's
and
got.
I as someone who lives, my wife has, mental health issues.
That's not the look you want to see.
No. Yeah.
That's when it's like, oh, we need to calm down.
Yeah. There's she's dealing with some stuff right now. She's been having some head pain, which is a recurring thing, but it's been especially bad lately. And she does this thing where she talks to herself. She basically has an argument with someone, but on her own, which I'm generally used to. But when you're walking by the bedroom and you just hear, and it's like, she's the only one in here. It's like, we got to get this sorted out.
Yeah. Yeah. But, so Aubrey clearly in love with Cedric.
It's important for her characterization to go back to, she's the youngest daughter. As the youngest daughter, she has been doted on by her family and also Cedric to some extent. I
believe there's actually even an extra circumstance there. If she was born maybe a little premature or weak somehow, and it was at the time of either an invasion or a famine, and they were just really unsure of whether or not this was a good time to bring a child into the world. And because of that, she was such a miracle child for this family that they all really babied her.
Yeah. So she's head over heels for Cedric,
yeah.
Which is basically just because he was nice to her. But then he's nice to everybody. So
yeah, it makes total sense that she has the crush.
Yeah, but let's be fair. If Cedric was going to take a wife from the Jordan family, it wouldn't be Aubrey. It would be probably Fiona or Mel.
No, and I think this is one where Aubrey is incredibly ignorant of the ways of the world outside of the North. Because the heir of House Ebron would not marry the child of one of his own vassals ever. That makes no sense politically. It does nothing to win their kingdom anything. He would be giving away his most valuable alliance chip for free, basically.
Yeah.
He already has their family. He doesn't need their family.
Right.
He could marry that's one of those things where it's you would, and unfortunately this is just the rules of the age, but you marry a daughter, a second daughter to that to cement your goodwill. But
right. It would be if he got to a point where he was I have to have a child. So and there hasn't been any other person I can marry that would make political sense. So I'll take one of these daughters from this vassal family and have a child so that I have an heir. That would be the way that would go.
Yeah, it was never going to happen. And I think there is just an element for Tia's personality of she cannot stand that level of innocence almost. And
let's be fair. Tia gave Aubrey so many chances.
Kinda.
Way more than I would have.
Kinda, though. Okay. So this puppy love thing and the disrespecting of Tia and basically treating it like two ordinary 18-year-old girls fighting over an object of affection. Tia wants to put a stop to that. She's like, I'm going to put a stop to that by making her my lady in waiting, which would be an honor if they didn't hate each other. But Tia uses it as an opportunity to make her stand there holding a jewelry box for hours on end, just in case Tia might need it someday. And that...
I don't know that Aubrey could have done much more than that anyway.
No, but Tia, you can't tell me Tia doesn't know what she's doing there.
Well, yeah,
she's
but
trying to humble her.
Right. But that's the key. Because through this whole thing, at least from my reading, I don't think Tia ever thought that it was going to go as far as it did.
No, but I also don't...
It worked out for her, but...
I also don't think Tia really tried. And here's the thing. Cedric did have genuine affection for this girl. It is his childhood friend.
Yeah.
Tia could have had a talk with her. Tia could have, at some point, let her in on the plan of, you need to chill out. I'm his wife. You're not. You never will be. You need to move on.
She didn't listen to anyone else who told her that.
No, she didn't. But I think...
Because, her sisters, her mother, her father,
they
to an
all
extent,
just, Cedric. No, they all just gave her this, like... She could have even had Cedric tell her, like, go tell her you're married. Like, go tell her, cut this off, Cedric. If you want her to be okay, for her own good, cut her off. But instead, they have her parents be like, they have the normal, like, 18-year-old conversation that no 18-year-old listens to. You know, like, you need to think about your future. You need to make good decisions. You need to hold that jewelry box.
I don't think she was going to listen to anybody. Because we see a lot of her inner dialogue. And, like, she just, no matter what happens, she keeps going, oh, Tia's in the way. Cedric loves me, but he had to marry this person. I need to find a way to get rid of her. Like, no matter what anybody said.
I know the way I read it was and I'm sure that this is the one where people are either going to agree with me or disagree with me strongly. I read this as no one understood where this girl's head was at. They were giving her advice as if she were in a totally different place than where she was. And I don't feel like anybody took the time to talk to Aubrey, to ask Aubrey questions, to understand what Aubrey was actually thinking. Sure. They just kind of like tried to force her to conform.
But here's the thing. So first of all, I don't think it was super obvious to everyone around her that she was so completely and utterly delusional that she would go to the extents that she did.
Yeah. That's the tragedy.
Oh, it's a puppy love. Yeah, we just have to put on some kid gloves and be like, hey, Aubrey, you need to, back off a little bit. Like, it's not.
But I think Tia's approach was to try to humiliate Aubrey.
Yeah.
And I think that was there is another world in which somebody instead tried to understand Aubrey where maybe it doesn't go as far as it does.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that, but I do think that Aubrey was given plenty of opportunities.
I definitely think she crosses a line all by herself. I will say that.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I think she crossed multiple lines, the last of which being definitely a bridge too far.
So where Aubrey finally starts to get to be a problem is one of the maids gives her another task with this stupid jewelry box. And Aubrey just has this moment of rage where she completely loses her shit. She screams at the maid. She throws the jewelry box, which is not small, at the maid's head, beams her. The maid is bleeding on the floor. And Aubrey has a brief moment of, oh shit, what have I done? Runs off. And at that moment, I still felt bad for Aubrey. At that moment, I felt worse for the maid. Don't get me wrong. I felt worse for the maid.
This is an 18-year-old girl.
I know, but she's being like mentally tortured by a mastermind.
Right, but like this behavior is like 12-year-old behavior.
No, it's totally inappropriate. Like, okay, I felt bad for Aubrey in the sense that there's still a way back from this. There's still apologies that could be made. There's still like you could compensate the maid for what you did. Like there's still a way back from this.
Well, let's just say there was a chance for her to apologize right up until.
Yes.
And she never got it.
That is the fatal flaw here. And so Tia finds out, and she tells the mother, you need to fix this. She's like, this has gone too far now. You need to fix this. Nobody knows where the hell Aubrey went. And so the mother is just like, puts out the call to the house, like, we need to find Aubrey before anyone else finds Aubrey. We need to get her the fuck out of here. And they're having some kind of ball that night or some kind of event, banquet. And Aubrey, this is where I knew Aubrey wasn't coming back. Aubrey tries to show up. She tries to show up in fancy dress, like everything's gonna be okay. Like you could just attack a servant, and especially in Cedric's house. I don't know what Cedric would have ever done to indicate to her that he would so easily forgive.
Yeah.
Braining a servant with a jewelry box. But she tries to show up. A guard stops her at the door. And this is where Lycia finally comes to the castle. Lycia was Cedric's wife in the old timeline. Or not Cedric's wife. She was Lawrence's wife. Cedric kind of loved her, or Tia thinks Cedric loved her.
Everything appeared as if they were in love. And so when Tia schemes to put Lycia, who is the saintess, and Lawrence together, because that is a good way to solidify his position as crown prince, she believes that she is splitting up lovers, which is important. And she sort of never comes around on that.
Tia's realistic. Honestly,
like Cedric and Lycia both like say to her face, it's not like that. And she still doesn't get it.
Well, so you've had your medical diagnosis published in the DSM recently, the dense female lead syndrome. This is not that, I think. I think this is Tia is a very intelligent person, but she is aware that like mental illness runs in her family. She is afraid of it manifesting in herself or her children. She cannot, and she is very aware of how easy it is for her to just kill people. And I think she thinks that it's easy, like she can do these things partly because there's something wrong with her.
Yeah.
And she doesn't understand how anybody, like she's willing to do that. She's willing to roll with that, but she doesn't understand how anybody good could ever deserve to be afflicted with her presence. Like she views herself as a burden like her mother. And I think there's a lot of like, for an Otome Isekai, now they don't spend a lot of time on it, but like that is a very believable like blind spot for somebody to have.
Yeah.
Because I think it really makes sense based on her traumas. And it's frustrating to read, of course, when they're like, "Look, there's nothing between me and Lycia." And Cedric says so many times, because Cedric also, it comes up a lot in Otome Isekais. Like they grow close, and then there's some misunderstanding where they grow apart, and then they're going to come back together. But why can't they just talk and resolve the misunderstanding? And Cedric tries. God damn it, he tries to talk to her and resolve the misunderstanding over and over.
But that's the thing for me is like I get the oh, how could Cedric love me thing. That one I get. But the whole like, oh, Cedric and Lycia are supposed to be together, that it takes her literally forever to dissuade herself from. That's the one where I'm like, that's a bit of a stretch.
Well, I think one of the problems, I could be wrong, but like one of the challenges for very smart people that I have seen in my life is convincing them they're wrong about themselves.
Yeah.
Because they deep down, as much as they try to like be nice and respect other people, like deep down, they think they know better than you, especially when it comes to themselves. Mm-hmm. And you can see Cedric's growing frustration with that, where it's like, it's understandable that you have low self-esteem. It's understandable that you think somebody couldn't love you, but I'm sitting here telling you it doesn't matter to me. And you're sitting here telling me I don't know what's good for me. And I'm too stupid to make the decision to love you.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, it is kind of like, okay, I'm done being told that. And honestly, this is one of the things they got to resolve in 7 chapters.
Yeah.
That's one of the crazy things, because I still don't know where that's going to go. Is Cedric is trying his damnedest to talk her out of this, but if Tia doesn't admit she could be wrong about this, she's going to doom herself.
But I'll tell you what, Tia doesn't give a shit that Aubrey is in love with Cedric.
No, yeah, Tia's mercy does not extend very far outside of her immediate circle.
Just Lycia.
Yeah, so Lycia's... you think Lycia might be a romantic rival, but she is not. She is not interested in Cedric that way. Really at all.
They're basically just really good friends.
Yeah.
And not in the, they're just really good friends. Wink, wink. No, like literally they love each other as friends.
Well, and I think Lycia is maybe being the child of a former rebel. Because like when the Emperor purged the North, there were people that fought him. And Lycia's family is one of those families.
The Mortons.
Yeah, and she has been hiding in the quote-unquote rebel village that was established to sort of pretend these people don't exist. And I think maybe because of that political reality, like she's lived much closer to politics than Aubrey has, for sure. And I don't think Lycia would ever entertain the idea that she could marry the Eberron family. Like that's just not.
Yeah.
She's been planning her life for a totally different track. So this is not devastating to her in any way, shape, or form.
Well, and let's be fair, like the way that things go with Lycia's romantic life later on, I sort of don't trust her opinion either.
Lycia is literally the I can fix him girl. I think she says those exact words. Before she, I don't know if you want to bleep this. This is spoilers. Before she.
Yeah, we'll go over that again when we get there. Hey, at least she takes responsibility.
So Lycia tries to talk Aubrey down here. She sees Aubrey getting banned from this party. And Aubrey turns on Licia. It's a whole big argument. And eventually the mom shows up and sends Aubrey to a nunnery. The old nunnery punishment.
I'll tell you what, though, because normally what you hear, and this is a little preemptive, but this is what happens to Tia's mom. Like, you normally get sent to a nunnery, like, way far away. So it's basically exile, right? Mm-hmm. They send Aubrey, like, to the church in town. I think she's like still there.
She's on her way further out, but the North Sea freezes over. So there's a couple of different groups that wind up in this one inn location while they're waiting for travel to become more doable again. And there, Aubrey happens to encounter Prince, I forget what his name.
A pirate.
Sorry, a pirate. The Dread Pirate Redhead. And he introduces himself as a leather merchant, and he says, Tia is my ex-fiance who ran away from the altar, and I've come to get her back. But I heard she already married somebody.
Yeah,
so
he doesn't tell Aubrey that he's the Pirate King.
And so I'm going to need to, I think we could help each other here. You want Eberron. I want Tia. I could steal her.
Is he the first person to regain his memories?
Yeah. He's the first person she realizes has.
Did we see when Cedric regained his memories?
We do know when Cedric regained his memories, but I don't remember when it was.
Because I know Licia isn't until later.
Around this point, I think they've crossed the boundary of making sex. So that might be around the time. Because this is where, like, Tia is, like, allowing herself to, like, lean into the relationship a little bit. Like, just for now, I'll let it happen. And
so yeah, Aubrey meets Cadriel in this place,
and he's like, "Help me kidnap your Duke's wife."
Obviously, I can't just walk in the front door and lay claim because we'll be killed on the spot. Do you have any information that could help me out?
I could tell you all of the castle's secret entrances and exits.
And this was the point.
This is what I
This was the point where I was like, oh, Aubrey is irredeemable.
Well, yeah, this is the point where I knew Aubrey was dead, because, like, I can forgive a lot of stupid, angry, maybe even like mental health issue type stuff, but, like, I can't. You know too much if you're going to be blabbing it. That's that's just a practical thing. No hard feelings, but also there are definitely hard feelings. So that happens. Tia gets kidnapped. But I don't care about Tia getting kidnapped at this point, because you know what else happens? For the first time, I think, Cedric gets fucking pissed.
Oh, yeah. Which, yeah, not the last time.
No.
But, yeah.
No, Cedric gets pissed, and he drags Aubrey in. And she gives this, he's like, explain yourself. And she's like, I knew it. So that woman, you know, she was already married, or she was already going to marry this other guy. She wasn't being true to you, and blah, 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 blah. And she's terrible, and I'm so glad she's gone, and now we can all be cool again, right? And I'm sitting there like jaw dropped. Then there's like a shot of everyone in the room. Everyone in the room is just like jaw dropped. And Cedric is like, he looks pissed. He actually looks scary. And he's like, I'm going to let you try that again. Tell me what the hell you were thinking.
And this is my thing, because she had so many chances right up until the end.
At this
There's
point,
many chances.
At this point, I know she's gone. At this point, I'm not. I don't think I can help her anymore. Around the time everybody's jaw dropped, I was like,
this might be the most deluded person in all of fiction.
But that's it's tragic though, because she is delusional. She doesn't know what she's doing. It's so obvious she doesn't know what she was doing, or she would have lied. Like, and at this point, like when Cedric goes, "I'm going to let you try that one again," the mom is like freaking out. She's like, "No, punish me instead. I'm sorry." Like, and she's like, "What are you talking about, Mom? That." I think she calls her a whore. She's like, that whore is gone. And now we can all be great. And Cedric is just like, excuse me? And now the dad is on his hands and knees like, forgive her. She's a stupid, stupid idiot. I don't know what to
We
tell.
didn't realize she was this dumb.
We didn't know she had the stupid. And she's like, Cedric, I love you. And Cedric draws his matte black sword, which I didn't know it was black. That's cool. And then he drops it in front of the dad. And he goes, I'll give you a chance to save your family. Fix the problem. And the mother screams, no, take me instead. And then the older sister stands up. Grabs.
No, it's important. The two younger sisters drag the mother out.
Yeah. And the older sister stands up, takes the sword, and cuts the head off the younger sister. And I was like, shit. I talked about that in the Discord. I was like, I need a second after that. That was like the panel where he drops the sword was, and that's. I thought Cedric was going to kill her. I was prepared for that. When he drops the sword in front of the father to say, kill your daughter and I might spare you, I was like, whoa, my dude, that's fucking cold. And that is like, you can't, that's fucking treason. I don't know what you do with that. Like,
so many chances. So many. She literally died having no idea what was happening.
And that's sad. I mean, that's so much worse than somebody who actually committed treason intentionally to bring you down. Like,
yes, but also like, how can you be that dumb as to be completely divorced from reality?
I've known some 18-year-olds that are fucking stupid. Like,
I mean, at the very least, when he draws his sword, how could you not be like,
I would definitely.
Oh, I get it.
I think at that point she might have had a total break with reality, because like, just based like, read the room. Like, this is I mean, your mother is standing next to you being like, forgive her, my lord. She knows not what she says. Like,
right.
It's, oh my, it's, that was awesome. I mean, what a great scene. Like, I felt emotion reading this webtoon. Like,
so this was an interesting time for me, because reading, week to week, getting up to this point, I had read spoilers. I knew, so I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but I knew there was a culmination to the Aubrey stuff that was going to happen. And so I was on edge waiting for it the whole time. And then when it finally got there, it was like, oh yeah, yep. That's how that had to go.
well, but also The thing I kept thinking was, it's like you said, these people are basically Cedric's foster family.
Yeah.
Look what happened when Tia came into his life. Now he is forcing his foster family to execute their own daughter largely because if Tia had never made her the lady in waiting, would this have happened?
Yeah, it would have. Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe not at the same time, but this was going to happen one way or another.
I don't know. I think this event.
Well, maybe not. Maybe Aubrey would have been properly exiled out in a monastery somewhere.
I want to be clear. I don't think it's Tia's fault.
Well, that's the thing. Out of all the schemes that happen in this series, Tia didn't set this one up.
Yeah.
Like, it was a weird coincidence that Aubrey met Cadriel at that time.
Yeah, but and I really don't think this is Tia's fault. I want to be honest. Cedric also made choices here. Like he could have executed her. That would have been a little nicer. And it's, when you're putting yourself in a situation where personally executing someone is a little kinder.
Well, no, I have to disagree with that, because the whole point is that it was literally treason. She leaked out the very secret things about Castle Ebron. Like, that is the definition of treason. And when treason like that occurs, as the Lord, you have to go, is this family still loyal to me?
But forcing someone to kill their own child or their own sibling, I understand why he did it. And I don't hate him for it. But that is a dark fucking turn.
Well, yeah, it's dark, but like, if he did it himself, he'll never be able to escape the underlying thought of, do they resent me? Will they betray me in the future?
I mean, if they didn't resent you before, they might now.
Well, but what you see during that time, the eldest sister stepped up and did what she needed to do to prove her family's loyalty. What you'll notice, I don't know that it's entirely clear, but after this point, the mom and dad aren't really around anymore.
Now, I was confused at one point. There was somebody brought the bishop poison. And it looked a lot like the mom. And I didn't know if that was just the art being kind of samey.
I don't think so. Are you sure it wasn't one of the sisters?
It looked like it was an older lady. I could tell because she had crow's feet. Which means she's practically dead. I don't know.
Oh, well, it does say here that the mom and dad were stripped of their titles.
They were stripped of their titles. She takes the other sisters on as ladies in waiting. And they're going to revisit the issue of title again in 2 years, I think. That's the punishment. He might restore their titles if they are continuously loyal after 2 years. And somebody poisons that bishop. And it looks a lot like the mom. And I don't know if it was the mom. But I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop on this one. I was like, Cedric, you just brutalized one of the families that supported you. And like, yeah, they got to prove their loyalty. Yeah, she did the wrong thing to you. But that's never stopped anyone from like seeking revenge in the past.
Yeah, but there's also like, how does everyone else in the entire empire view this? Because it's not like it's going to stay secret forever.
Like I said, I don't think Cedric made the wrong move. I just thought that was a loss of innocence on the part of Cedric. Like,
Oh yeah.
here was
yeah.
this good guy who's a little less good, partly because he got involved with Tia.
Well, and it's specifically called out that Tia said to him, "You can't trust anybody." And there's even the people you trust the most, there can be unforeseen
But
things that occur. And what happened here was this situation proved Tia right to Cedric, at which point, yeah, he lost his innocence.
and I agree with that. But that's where there's like a little bit of like Shakespeare in this. I might be getting a little high-minded with this, but like, okay, in Macbeth, right? The lady Macbeth convinces Macbeth to murder Duncan. And sort of by the end of the play, the lady Macbeth was the ambitious one who pushed for all this violence. And then sort of by the end of the play, they have switched roles. And now Macbeth has become hyper violent and evil, and she's like, we've gone too far. Mm-hmm. And there's a little bit of that going on where it's like, I thought we were supposed to be making Tia better, not Cedric worse.
Well,
and they're kind of going to meet in the middle. And that's an interesting, like, I love that the story is not afraid to be tragic. I love that it's not about this fairy tale ending. This is like, that's some real stuff you're talking about there. And there's real consequences to it. And then, of course, after we get this brutal Game of Thrones moment, we get the Otome Isekai moment of like, I'm the second regressor in this. And like, I'm a red-haired, passionate, lusty, like vitality man from every fucking Otome Isekai.
But don't get second male lead syndrome into your head, because as soon as they part ways, as soon as Cadriel parts ways with Tia, we don't see him again for like 150 chapters.
Yeah, so we find out Cadriel is a guy Tia hadn't intentionally screwed over in the past, but plans went a certain way, and Lawrence made sure that this guy got executed. So he tells Tia, he's like, I don't know what I want to do with you. When I first regained my memories, I thought about killing you. Then I thought maybe I should marry you. Then I found out you were already married. Now, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of in a weird situation here with you.
He has a bit of a nut job.
Yeah. And she tells him, we can still work together here. I've got some plans for the South. At a certain point in time, the queen of your nation, he's not a citizen of the Empire. He's from the independent kingdom of Amel.
Camel? Yeah.
Yeah. And
which totally doesn't mean camels, as in like a desert kingdom. And it's not racist against, Middle Eastern people.
And she's like, the queen of your nation is going to die. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And
did she set that up before she went north?
Yeah, because she's already planning it with Lawrence. You don't know she set it up before she went north. At least I didn't.
Derry Ford.
Yeah, she hired that lady, told her to go south, get in with the noble families, and if possible, get very, very close to Lady Heroine. And this, we find out, this plant, her job is to assassinate the queen, but not just assassinate the queen, frame Heroine for it. And Lawrence's job, she told Lawrence, you should go try to ruin the Heroine family. And so she masterminds this assassination of a queen, which is a multi-part plan with that is intended to fuck over multiple different people. It's intended to kill the queen, and arguably the least important part of the plan is the actual assassination.
Yeah, right.
Derry Ford, which is a terrible name, is the killer. But Derry Ford makes it look like she was a tool of House Heroine. So Heroine goes down. But then, plot twist number 2, it also really looks a lot like someone was trying to frame House Heroine. And Lawrence is on record with all of his co-conspirators as saying, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to ruin House Heroine. So when all the stuff comes out to the Emperor, in one stroke, Tia has gotten rid of House Heroine, the masters of the salt trade. So that's open for business. She has done the favor for Cadriel. She's created the opportunity for him to ascend to power in his kingdom, and he owes her a favor. She has framed Lawrence for framing Heroine and caused him to lose favor with the Emperor. And this is where I said in the Discord a little belatedly after I realized she had done all this, oh my God, and this is also going to lead to Roygar being taken out.
And the Camilla.
Because who is going to be appointed to fix the salt trade? Roygar, the next candidate.
It's a scheme that set up another scheme.
She takes out, and I said, like, this is where, I think this happens either towards the end of season 2 or I think towards the end of season 3.
Spoilers, by the way. And
I'm like, oh my God, this is where it all unravels. Like the assassination of this queen, I only kind of knew existed, is going to be the event that ruins both Lawrence and Roygar, and then she's won.
It's so funny because the actual like announcement of the assassination, the people finding out that it happened, was like so inconsequential at the time. It's just like, hey, this happened. Oh, yeah, the Derry Ford. Yeah, Tia set that up a while ago. Moving on. And then it's like, oh no, that's like the linchpin of this whole thing.
That's the whole plan Tia has been building up. And then a side scheme for fun is that when she had the necromancer going around reading everybody's fortunes and talking about how to curse people and stuff, her mom finds out about this. And
not about the scheme, but about
the necromancer being able to curse people. And now at this point, Tia's mom has been abandoned by both her children. But Tia knows that the Emperor is never going to abandon their mom, because the Emperor's fatal flaw is that he really wants to be the good guy. After everything he's done in his life, he really wants to be liked and feel like he's doing something nice for...
Well, and he knows he's going to die soon.
Yeah.
And we'll find this out later. He literally can feel himself that he's going to die soon. And so he wants his legacy to be a good one. And he did all kinds of awful shit when he was younger. And so he wants to be like, I need to do this good and that good to be remembered as a good emperor.
Moon, this is probably where you should stop listening.
This is probably a
I'm going off the deep end now. So, she's got to alienate her mother from the Emperor because her mother will still support Lawrence's claim. And like, this one isn't even personal. This one's just like, sorry, Mom, got to get you out of the way. So her mom is driven to like, she knows her mom is going to continue to have these episodes because her mom always has these episodes, because I actually think it's a medical problem. And if no one is there to help her, she's going to spiral. She can't live on her own. and the Emperor can't live with her. So her mom's
Yeah,
spiraling.
let's just remember there is an empress. Okay,
Yes.
There's literally the Empress Catherine in the palace.
Yeah, and Tia we barely mentioned this, but Tia's also been getting in good with the Empress, and she wasn't kind of lying to Lawrence about the Empress would like to see House Riorin ruined for what they did to her friends, but under no circumstances was she ever going to legitimize Lawrence.
Yeah. The thing to know about the Empress is like she is in perpetual mourning for all her murdered children.
Yeah. And she blames the Emperor.
Yeah. And she doesn't show up in public ever. I think she talks to the Emperor face to face maybe twice in this series.
She talks to him a couple of times, but it's always fucking awkward.
Yeah. But the thing is like, even though she's sort of sequestered, she still holds a lot of power. Just, I guess, because of the fact that she's the Empress. But I think she has her own sort of tendrils out into the world that she's keeping hold of power by, keeping these loyal servants around her and doing things.
And the way Tia gets the Empress on board is she promises the Empress that she will make the Emperor the most lonely, miserable man in the world before he finally dies.
Yeah.
And the sad part is the Emperor genuinely likes and respects Tia. And this whole time, Tia is plotting not just to take what he has or to ruin him, but to destroy him utterly.
Yeah. In this series, I think I said this before, the only two people that I am just like, I hate you completely, Lawrence and Aubrey.
Lawrence is worse.
Lawrence is definitely the worst one in the series. Aubrey, my malice to her is more like, I'm a fan of villainous Otomi Isekai stuff, and Aubrey is the culmination of all of the worst.
You fulfill a needed role.
Yeah. So I hate her because of that. I understand how she got there. I understand that she's deluded and young and all that, but like, I hate her. Gregor is the person I dislike the most while still liking them as a character. He's done the worst stuff, but like, he is a tragic character.
Gregor is like a proper Greek tragedy.
Yeah.
Where he has created his own downfall.
Yeah.
And you can't be mad at Tia for orchestrating it. But at the same time, it is sad to see how it went for him.
Right.
Everything he did to get where he is, and it can't buy him happiness. I mean, as cliched as that is at the end of the day, like
I think there's something to this where it's like, he is obviously significantly worse than Aubrey. Like,
yeah,
by a huge degree. But the fact that Aubrey never understands what she's doing, but Gregor does understand. He knows he did wrong. There's a part of him who wants to sort of make amends for the things that he's done wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it just, the characterization hits so differently.
He wants to be loved at the end, and he won't sacrifice the people of the Empire. That's what would make him worse.
That's the one redeeming, like the most redeeming thing about him. That, I mean, he's not redeemable, but the most redeeming thing about him is the fact that he doesn't want the Empire to collapse. He wants the citizens of the Empire to be fine. Like, he doesn't. He. I guess it would be fair to say like he doesn't want to hold on to power at the expense of the people.
Yeah. And that's what most otome isekai would do, I think. They would make him like a tyrant.
A tyrant. Like, he doesn't give a shit about the nobles.
Well, he's
like fuck all them nobles.
What I think a normal otome isekai would do would just be make him like, once I'm dead, the world stops existing.
Right.
But he's not like that. He cares about his legacy. He cares about the empire itself. He'll let Tia win if that's the only way to salvage the empire, and that is exactly what Tia orchestrates.
He doesn't hate the Empress. Like,
no, he wants her to like him, but he also doesn't want to do any of the things that, like, he doesn't want to live his life in a way that the Empress would like.
Right.
But
like,
he just wants to be liked.
Hey, Catherine, I got rid of that person I was having an affair with. Nope.
Like, bring my dead children back.
Right. That would be the first step.
Yeah. But yeah, it's he's tragic, and I feel bad for him. You're supposed to feel bad for him, and you're supposed to be like, God, Tia just does not care. But the honey tea. Did you?
I didn't figure it out.
Dude,
that was a long setup.
That was insane. The Emperor is old, but he's not that old.
I think what we discussed was that he was probably in like his late 60s.
Cedric reasons based on his own memories. We get a little window into Cedric's inner monologue where the Emperor should live another 10 years. But he's fading fucking fast.
I'm not seeing here an age listed.
Well, the point is he's supposed to live another 10 years, and he's got 2. And we don't know why he's fading so fast. And there's this whole thing, it's mentioned over and over again in little endearing conversations with his servants and family, that the Emperor likes sugar, but for his health, he can't have sugar anymore. And his daughter, the one that is not vying for the throne, made him this like honey tea that he can have a little bit of. And they let him have it because she made it for him. And the butler always brings it to him. And the butler keeps reducing his sugar. He keeps taking the sugar away from him. Like he takes it out of he doesn't put it on the plates anymore. And so the only sugar the Emperor can have is this honey tea, and he drinks more and more of it. The honey tea is fucking poison. The honey tea has been poisoned the whole time, and they've been taking away the sugar to get him to drink more of it. And it was the butler. The butler was in on it. The butler was Tia's accomplice. He's been poisoning the Emperor. And he's been poisoning the Emperor because a long time ago, when the Emperor was young, one of the only good things, this is the Greek tragedy of it all, one of the only good things the Emperor ever did was a noble was beating the crap out of this butler. And the Emperor was like, hey, no, he's still a human being. We don't beat servants. That's still a crime, okay? And he's like, get out of here, you go 100 years dungeon. I don't know what he does, but like, he's like, get out of here. But then Lawrence, as a child, starts getting violent with the servants. And one day beats a servant, I think, almost to death, if not to death. And
yeah, I don't remember.
And it's brought before the Emperor, and the Emperor is like, oh, we'll sweep it under the rug. We'll make sure he's separated and they don't do it again. And that's when the butler was like, no, not you, not anymore.
You're not the man I once respected.
But the butler still respects him, and the butler's like, don't worry, sir. I promise to serve you till the day I die, or till the day one of us dies, and I'll be here with you at the end. And then the Emperor goes into a coma. And he's probably not waking up.
Yeah, I think that's well, and this is super spoilers. At the chapter that we're at now, the Emperor hasn't died yet, but he has been completely out of commission in a coma for a while.
Yeah.
Because Cedric was named as the crown prince a little while ago, and then the Emperor became unable to fulfill his duties, and so Cedric is currently acting under the name of Crown Prince.
How many times this fucking honey tea was mentioned, and how many times they talked about the goddamn sugar, and it never even occurred to me how weird it is to go out of your way to write what he's drinking. I thought it was just a cute thing with his daughter.
Well, I think they set it up as like, you can see that his health is starting to deteriorate. And so this mention of the sugar and everything, you're going, oh yeah,
it's just a sign that he's deteriorating.
Right.
That was genius. It was there. Like, that's good mystery writing. It's there and you don't notice it.
Yeah.
All the clues are there for you to put together what T is scheming, but you don't notice it.
Okay. We need to roll way back because we jumped way too far ahead. We were talking about Moralia and the Necromancer.
Yeah. So yeah, the bonus scam. Sorry. Yeah. So she knows that one day the Necromancer, like the mom, is super desperate for any kind of comfort she can get, and she knows that one day the mom, this whole thing has been a bait for the mom. The mom's going to call on the Necromancer, and she wants the Necromancer to tell her mom specific things. And she keeps the mom on the hook for quite a while until the mom is desperate to win back what she has lost. How does she get her kids back? How does she undo all this damage? And she's like, I want you to tell my mom you're a fraud, and you're going to say these exact words. And I want to point out at this point, even this fucking assassin she has hired to play the part is like, I feel a little bad for your mom. Like, I know she's messed up, but like, she's got a lot going on that is, I don't know if she can help it. And she's like, yeah, that's tragic. So this is what you're going to say to my mom. You're going to say, look, the spirits can't curse anybody. Only people can curse people. And this is all just a scam. And I found these weird symbols that make lights pop up. And, that's all it is. It's just minor magic. It's a little cantrip. And, it's dancing lights. I cast dancing lights. And so, it's that's all it is. I'm sorry. I'm gonna leave. And he takes off. Now the mom, symbols. I know those symbols. I'm gonna go look in our library. And wouldn't you know it, there's a couple of hastily copied books that are sitting in that library. And they happen to have...
That was a hint, listener. Do you remember what we talked about an hour and a half ago?
I know. In one episode, you're already probably going to lose it. Like,
this is how you feel reading it. So if you like that feeling of going, oh, I remember that, this is the series for you.
And in those books, there is a series of like sloppily translated spells and curses, and the mom is going off the deep end, and she finds another charlatan necromancer who is willing to help her cast a curse on the Empress, the one who took it all away from her.
I was trying to remember who she was targeting.
She was targeting the
it was
Empress
the
because,
Empress.
yes, I think that was one of the last things Lawrence said to her is like, I need the Empress, not you. Bye. And she's going to cast a curse on the Empress, and what's going to really make this curse pop, and this might even be true, is human sacrifice. So she went around buying up all these orphan children, or maybe not orphan, maybe just like wish they were orphan, soon to be orphan.
Yeah, this was definitely one of those like, oh, okay, mental illness. This is way too far.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't write off this one. She's gonna kill these children, and well, Tia knows. Tia's like, I'm just gonna let my mom spiral. I think I know where that's gonna go. Calls a reporter. There's fucking April O'Neil is in this world, and she's like, hey, I got a hot tip. There's this new necromancer. And he's doing some stuff at like, Warehouse 13 down on the dock. And the reporter's looking into it and she's planning on just following. But then she finds out kids are going to be like literally murdered at this ritual. And she calls the cops and they show up and they arrest the mom. And the mom is, a noble buying commoner children to sacrifice in a necromantic ritual. Boy, doesn't that just like make the...
curse the Empress.
To curse the Empress, like, oh, that is a juicy story, and everything.
And in case we didn't do enough to like sort of explain this, the church is very powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so like heathenistic activities, like trying to communicate with the Karam, or I don't know, ancient black magic sacrificial curses, not okay in the eyes of the church.
No, nor the public. And then Lawrence just, hey, he's like, so naturally the commoners are like, the Emperor's side piece is trying to kill our children for her dark magic rituals. And her and her family are garbage people that need to be killed. And the mom is arrested, and Lawrence is just like, hey, I wash my hands of this lady. Get out of my house. Get away from protesters. Disperse from my house. That's not a winning strategy.
That was a whole thing too.
Yeah. That's not a winning strategy. Tia is like, I'm going to be the dutiful daughter now. I'm going to go beg for my mother's life from the church. And I'm going to go submit to the church because I want them to know I didn't have anything to do with this. I want to make everything right.
Was the stuff with the wheat before or after this?
It's during this, because Cedric's still in the north dealing with the Karam attack at the border. Like
the whole thing about presenting it at the festival or whatever.
Yeah,
is that after this?
It hasn't happened yet because that's where when they finally presented at the festival, that's when she already has her daughter and she's manifesting, or she's pregnant, heavily pregnant, and she manifests her blessing. I honestly don't know if we could cover all this in one episode.
we skipped over an important part here, which we probably would have explained there, but since I mentioned it, I'll explain it. In the north, there's like this border area, so it's sort of like a no man's land. And on the southern side of it is a big old wall and a castle where the Ebron Duchy defends the north from, any incursions. On the other side is like a big old forest, and that's where the Karam and all, they hang out and live and everything. In the middle of this no man's land zone, there's a village. And this village is where they've established this sort of like extrajudicial, weird, non-affiliated situation where there's like some half-breeds are there, but also people live there, people who need to escape the empire because of, treason or whatever, they live there. They also establish, Tia establishes this place as where they can start trying to
Tia doesn't
hybridize.
like it. Tia doesn't like it. She thinks this is Cedric's brainchild. The village,
but they use this as a place to start hybridizing wheat.
Yeah,
from like the far north. Like there's this plant that grows in the far north that is like it actually grows in this harsh environment, and they're like, but then we can't grow wheat, and so they do this sort of like it's GMO. It's
yeah.
bad.
Well, Cedric's trying to research this crop, but he's doing it kind of too out in the open. Tia's afraid the church is going to find out. That's a whole nother scheme, dude. I don't know. I honestly don't know if we could cover this in one episode. If you want to talk about everything.
And so what happens then is Tia takes that and secretly introduces that in the West, in the more fertile lands, right?
Yeah, she wants to make it seem the church would never bless a crop from the Quran. So. Right. There's a harvest festival each year where people can present new plants or new strains of plants for the church to bless and sanctify and say these are holy, these are wholesome, you can eat them. She wants to pretend they found this crop in the West, away from the Quran, and backdoor get the church to bless it. And then when we also found it in the North. But it's already blessed, so we can use it.
Right. So that's a whole underlying thing that's going on. But the culmination of that is sort of coming up. So I wanted to make sure we established.
Yeah, well, she also kills a priest.
That guy had it coming.
Yeah, there's a whole other thing there where Tia kills a priest. That's hilarious.
So I think when does she meet that monk?
Oh boy, she met the monk already.
So I think at this point,
I think she's
had her oracle.
Yeah, she meets the monk first,
which she sort of rejected.
Yeah, well, she makes a show of praying, but when she actually kneels down to pretend to pray, she gets an actual divine communication, and it tells her one word: revert. And I hate that. I don't know what that means.
Not very helpful.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Tia misinterprets it, but I also don't know what the legitimate interpretation would be.
So right. So there's this Bishop Akeem. And when all this stuff with Moralia goes down, Tia goes, okay, well, the church is having a field day with this, and they're like, we gotta execute the whole family, right? And this bishop is like, he's trying to gain power and everything. He sees this as an opportunity. So like they go and kidnap Tia, basically. And she's a duchess, okay? So that's not cool. And there's this whole thing where like the church has some troops, but then like obviously the duchy has troops, and there's these standoffs and everything. But Tia's like, no, I will go. I'll go to this church. I'll go into seclusion in this church while everything gets sorted out, right? So she goes in there, and like the forces of the duchy surround the church. They are like, we are staying here as close as possible to protect our duchess. If anything goes wrong, we're going to raze this place to the ground. And while she's in there, and I don't think we knew this ahead of time, but she's pregnant.
Yeah, we didn't know that. That's key.
And so because they put her in basically squalid conditions, it's not like you have to sleep on the floor and you don't get.
But it's like a
anything.
straw mattress on a stone floor.
It's pretty bad, especially for someone who is a duchess and pregnant. And so
she's also held against her will. She can't leave.
Right.
She went in there and made a show of how she was doing this of her own volition, but then she can't leave, and the church says she can. The church has been telling the people camped outside she can leave anytime she wants. But inside, no, she can't.
During this situation, and I wasn't clear exactly why this happened, but she becomes very ill and collapses and is, I guess you could call it in a coma. She's unconscious for multiple days.
Yeah.
I think.
That's an anime thing.
Yeah. And she had one. Who found out about that?
I think Licia went with her, didn't she? One of her ladies in waiting goes with her and fires off a flare.
Was it Haley?
Might have been Haley. Yeah, it might have been Haley.
Haley Jordan, who, after all the stuff with Aubrey went down, became one of Tia's like most trusted ladies in waiting. We skipped that. It's important.
I mean, there's just so much.
Haley is important. Yeah. So, basically the duchy forces storm the church. And,
well, Cedric shows up. He was in the north dealing with the Quran. He hears that she's been taken into this temple. He shows up and he tells the bishop, my wife is allowed to leave, right? And the bishop's like, yeah. He's like, well, then she's leaving. Or we're going to have a fight. And the bishop kind of sees, because initially the forces are going to storm without Cedric there. And he's like, do you really think your lord would authorize an attack on the church? And then at that point, Cedric walks out of the crowd and he's like, I might. So he goes in, he takes Tia out, and then they get a doctor to treat her. And that doctor's like, hey, yeah, she's just a little overexhausted. She's going to be fine. And also the baby's fine. And everybody's like, the what? It's like, yeah, she's pregnant. I did enjoy this part, by the way, where they're like, yeah, she's pregnant. And when Tia finds out she's pregnant, she has a very real, very like visceral reaction to being pregnant. And it's actually handled pretty well. But one of the things that I got a small chuckle out of was when she's like, they're like, didn't you notice you weren't having your period? She's like, I hardly ever get my period. I thought I was infertile. It's like, no, you're 90 pounds and constantly stressed to the max.
Right.
There might be a couple of things going on here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's the whole thing with the church. That bishop winds up having to die.
So after all of this stuff, we get the Harvest Festival thing. Tia is up there. I mean, at this point, Cedric is very much in the realm of capital politics. So they're involved with this festival. The emperor is there. This is the point at which, they are presenting the wheat because they want to get it blessed. But as they're doing this, this blinding light happens. And basically what's going on is God going, hey, you don't get to keep it a secret that you're the saintess anymore.
Well, no. So there's a couple of things that have happened. One of the things is Cedric wants the church punished. So he goes to the emperor and he's like, hey, emperor, no, uncle.
Oh, yeah, that was important.
I need a favor. And the emperor's like, you never call me uncle because of that thing that happened with your parents when I killed them. I love that you're calling me uncle. Why are you calling me uncle? What do you need from me, Cedric? And he's like, I need you to punish this bishop. And he attacked my pregnant wife. And they're like, attacked the heir of a noble family. That's a crime. And the emperor gets like these weird, like greedy monster eyes. And he's like, yes, yes, Cedric. Give in to your hate. And so there's that. Now, by the time of the Harvest Festival, I think Tia's pretty heavily pregnant. She's ready to go. She's nearing the due date.
You can tell. It's not a secret anymore.
And what happens is she tells Cedric to go up, get the festival done. She's not feeling well, though. And then she collapses. She's giving birth. Something has gone wrong. She's bleeding. And the holy light is her body, I think, instinctively healing.
Yeah.
So she's like self-healing as she's like hemorrhaging.
But she's up in front of everyone at the festival.
Yeah. And so now everybody can see like there's green light given off by the healing, and a bunch of doctors and nurses wind up, they perform a C-section. It heals instantly. Like it's a whole big thing.
And the best part about this is that they frame this to the public as this child has been blessed by God.
Yeah.
And has the birthright to the throne. Like there's genetic lineage all over the place, on top of the fact that God has said,
God wants this kid to live. It's super popular Duke. Also, the church looks like real assholes now.
Yeah.
Except the one guy, brother whatever his face, who's actually a religious guy. Could have been bishop, could have been archbishop, but he decided to actually just worship God because he actually believes in God. And I respect that. I respect people like that. But yeah.
He may be the only innocent person in this entire series.
By the end, we'll see. But yeah. So they have the cutest kid who never does anything. That's another thing that needs to be resolved. I assume there's side stories about this.
I hope so.
Yeah, and Leticia and Licia, I struggled with that a little.
Oh yeah, I see.
I was confused as to, because they're both off screen enough that when people are talking about them, I was like, wait, where is she? Alicia's not in the Empress's palace. Oh no, Leticia. Yeah, okay.
I think this is around the time. So after Leticia's born is when we start getting into all of the salt trade and Duke Roygar and the Camillas and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which there's a lot going on there. As far as like compelling story moments, there is a lot of like, children and parents and, you know, who actually loves their kids and all that kind of stuff going on. But like, it's pretty complicated. I didn't understand much of it.
Yeah. There is, trying to think what I really want to cover. There is a point where Roygar also is implicated in threatening Tia and the baby, and Cedric goes up to him and brings him a gift. And the gift is dueling pistols. So the threat there is kind of implied. And he says, you know, if anything ever happens, we should take care of each other's families, you know? And, oh man, I'm like fading.
Well, this is a little unprecedented, but we have been recording for 2.5 hours now. I don't think the episode is quite that long, but it'll be close to that.
I was gonna say, I think I could
we can pick this up next week. We can do 2 parts.
You want to do a 2-part?
We can.
Because, like, it's either that or, like, I need a lunch break.
Yeah. Because, well, here's the thing. We still have all of the salt trade business to go through. It is very important in terms of political power structures. And we need the rubric, and the rubric's going to take a while. So
I think, yeah, let's do a 2-part, because I think I've got easily another, like, I forgot about fucking Roygar. That's a whole.
You're going to go back and reread this the last season.
That's a whole third thing. Yeah. I'm like,
all right. Yeah. Okay. So, we have to rubric next time. We'll save the next series that we're going to cover till next time. So yeah, this is unprecedented heroin addiction territory.
I know. We still have to get
We've done episodes over 3 hours before, but I think if we
would
really
be
go through this, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't joking when I said this was going to be a 5-hour episode.
Because we still have to get to the fall of Roygar, the fall of Lawrence.
Yeah.
And then the rubric.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And we'll have another chapter by next week too. All right. Well, we still have to do the normal end of episode stuff. So yeah, I guess let's go right to that. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for the exciting conclusion.
Yep.
We want to thank Sugoi Mart for partnering with us. Sugoi Mart is a retailer of Japanese snacks, drinks, toys, and merch. All kinds of stuff you can't get outside Japan. Our listeners can use the link in the description or code APR15 at checkout to get 15% off their first order, which helps us out. We want to hear from you, so hit us up on social media, which you can find links for on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com, which is also where you can leave comments on these episodes. There's individual posts for each episode. Or, as I said, the social links, you can find our Discord, which is honestly the best place to come talk to us. You can also find a link to our Patreon, where our supporters get perks like getting to vote on which series we cover, which stay tuned for next week for that, as well as getting bonus episodes and the high-quality stereo version of the podcast early. And, of course, we need to shout out our patrons. So first and foremost, at our noble tier, we have our marquee, Sir Cake Dwarf. At our reincarnator tier, we've got Moon. Apologies for this episode. I'm spoiling everything.
Twice.
And last but not least, at our commoner tier, we've got Rena and Kalauer. So thanks so much to all our patrons. And if you can't get enough of Ben talking about stuff, you can check out his other podcast, Words About Books. What do you guys got going on in the next couple weeks?
The Hunger Games, Catching Fire.
Nice. That should interest fans of this show.
Yeah, there's a little bit of overlap there. Also, perhaps fans of this show. Oh shit, I gotta edit that today. Beware of Chicken. We're finally covering it.
So that'll be out by the time they hear this.
Yeah, that'll be out by the time you hear this. It's a more traditional isekai, probably definitely aimed at a more masculine audience, but it's still like a wholesome, cozy thing. I'd say like it's written by a Canadian guy in the style of many of the light novel type stuff we cover here. So I think this audience would probably like it. But yeah.
And secret upcoming project, which if you subscribe to the Words About Books Patreon, you can find out about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the secret upcoming project. It'll be released on the main feed eventually, but it's definitely going to be on Patreon first. Probably not until late February. And then it'll be on the main feed, I don't know, a couple of weeks after that. But it'll be a new thing we keep doing. Drop many hints, but it's made explicit on a bonus episode.
Well, I think that'll do it. Until next week. Ooh. Thanks again for listening. We hope you had a good time. Now, I gotta go. I have this strange feeling that someone put some manhwa in my coffee. All right. Now, anything you say could appear on in the episode. So I said at the beginning, I'm not going to reread this, but I was just looking at the character pages, and one of the characters, Roygar, Duke Roygar.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that guy.
I will never forget about Duke Roygar.
It wasn't that long ago. It was only like a couple months ago that all his stuff happened.
No, it is Duke Roygar is a fresh trauma for me.